Hi everyone, welcome back. We are here for part 2 of the Ultimate Homeschool Planning series for curriculum. I'm Shannon with Captivating Compass and Homeschool Travel Learn, and I am so excited that you are here today. We're going to get some planning done. Are you ready to start? Let's go. All right, so here we are in part 2 of the Ultimate Homeschool Planning. This time what we're going to do is we are taking inventory. So we're going to look at all the things we have, all the things we need, and try to get a sense of what we need to put together for each of the kids. So let's get started. First of all, I want to tell you that if you haven't done part 1, which is curriculum making the best choice, you're going to want to take a look at that because they go really well together, these two different parts. So if you haven't done that one, grab the video for that one. There's a worksheet that you can download. Those should come together. You can find the video on Facebook and on the website, and they will be in all the right places, and we will get those to you. So grab the video, sign up for the download, and do this one first if you haven't yet, and then come and do the other one. All right, so part 2 is about taking inventory, and the question we're asking now is, where do we go from here? We've looked at all the moving parts and the pieces, the frustrations, the challenges and successes. We did that in part 1. We talked with our kids. We figured out what was difficult for them. We talked about learning styles, teaching styles. All that's covered in part 1. So now we're into part 2, and it's like, well, where do we go from here? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. Let's get going. So for this one, you are going to want to grab the printable that is the taking inventory printable. So you're going to grab that one. Go ahead and go to the link for Homeschool Curriculum Shopping Guide. That's part of this whole series. And this is part 1 of the shopping, but we're still in the planning place because before we can shop, we've got to actually take inventory, don't we? It's just like making your grocery list before you go to the grocery store, right? So grab that and then head on back, and we're going to jump into and break it down by each of the separate sections that's in the printable that I'm going to send you as soon as you grab it. All right, so the first thing you're going to do with the printable is you're going to brainstorm. It's the first section there. It talks about thinking about gathering your thoughts and your ideas, your goals and your dreams about the way you want to use the world as your classroom. So we're taking a little bit of a different turn now. We're looking beyond what have we been doing into thinking about what we want to do next, okay? But the one thing to remember is that we're not going to be here at home forever. I know at the time of this recording, we're still in the coronavirus pandemic situation, and we've been at home for several weeks. I think we are on week 5 or 6 here. So, but there's always virtual learning, even if you are stuck at home. And if you're at home and that's just where you are right now for whatever reason, there's virtual learning that you can do. There's tons of online resources. There's printables. There's online classes. We're actually over the course of the next few weeks going to look at all the different options. So hang around for that, but let's jump into the next section about how we're going to go about this brainstorming, all right? We're talking about locations in the first section, and you want to incorporate the locations into your homeschool. So you can do that virtually by doing printables and online virtual tours and museums and that kind of thing. Webcams and zoo cams. You can also go local with your local outdoor activities, maybe museums, theater productions, nature walks. There's all different kinds of things you can do that are within, just a few minutes of your house and where you do school. The other idea is to think regionally. What are places that are, 1 to 3 miles away, maybe that you could do in a weekend trip, or even like a road trip of some sort. And do those regionally. Maybe you live someplace and you really want to go to Chicago and see all the museums in Chicago that have to do with, pick something, art museums, the art you're studying that year, or whatever. There's lots of different examples to stay regionally. And then, of course, if you're me and you love to travel, you're thinking about the next international trip. Maybe it's the first trip, maybe it's not the first trip, but you have this dream of going international. But even while you are still at home, you can still be planning, incorporating those ideas into your homeschool curriculum, using the virtual resources while you put your travel plans together. So we're going to put travel planning to the side now, thinking about homeschool and how we go about the ideas of homeschool and pulling that thread of homeschool through this together, okay? So when you're thinking about museum visits, no matter where they're located or how you're going to do it, whether it's in person or virtually, there's all the different ones you can think about. So think about the ones that you want to get access to that are art or science or historical, ones that have to do with hobbies of your family or your kids, and anything else that's exciting. There's like museums for everything, typewriters even, I think. So, so pick the ones that you want to incorporate. Ask the kids what their ideas are. Maybe they want to go to a sports car museum. Maybe they want to do the Museum of Transportation. Maybe they really want to do like a robotics thing or exhibit like that. Maybe there's some traveling things coming through that are going to be near you for a short amount of time, and you want to make sure you get them while they're close at hand. So keep that idea in mind when you're thinking about museums, okay? Another section you want to think about is outdoor activities. What outdoor activities do you want to make sure you incorporate into your homeschool curriculum this year? Those might include national parks, or maybe just hiking and camping trips. There are so many life skills that happen when you do those type of trips. Not to mention, it's a great way to just do a massive week-long nature extravaganza, I would think. Nature walk, nature hunt, nature scavenger hunt, photo hunt, all the kinds of things you can do camping. Then you've got theme parks and water parks, and you have like outdoor workshops. Maybe you have one kid that wants to do like woodworking or carving, or wants to learn some different type of outdoor style skills. Those can be incorporated here. And then of course there's those travel opportunities that maybe involve family reunions or competitions that you're going to go to, or maybe even conferences, business or otherwise, that you may be going to as an individual or as a family. And there are other activities that the kids can do while one of the parents or whatever is going and doing the conference. So keep all those ideas in mind for outdoor activities. Those are the things just away from home, right? I guess that aren't really museums, right? So, and then the next section is skills or subjects that you want to focus on that are maybe different than your normal, big four subjects. So those are life skills, hands-on learning. You want to experience maybe a new region or a new culture. And maybe you want to add in just this theme of historical importance of a specific area. So keep those in mind as you're putting your what and your why together. So your what is like, what is the activity? The why is this section. Why do you want that? And how are you going to put it together? You're going to learn life skills from doing it, or you're going to improve some hands-on skills, or you're going to learn a new culture, something like that. So keep those in mind as you are, and just make notes on the worksheet there of the different pieces that are important. What are some of the life skills that you want to make sure your kids learn this year? Maybe you're taking cooking in phases, and you have one that you want to make sure that they really get a handle on baking, and they really love baking. And so you want to give them the tools for that next level, whereas you maybe have an older student or older child that is working on full meal planning or diet type things and that kind of stuff. So take those all into account when you think about each child, where they're at now, where you want them to be within the school year by the time you finish it. And then now we're just kind of putting the pieces together. What do we want them to have? And then we'll get to this place of, do I already have the resources for that? So make tick box and notes that you already have the resources for the ones you do, and make other notes about the ones that you're going to want to think about doing a little bit more research on. All right, so when we're looking at the core subjects specifically, there's history and geography, languages, literature, and STEM. And those are really, really broad. And so I've broken them down a little bit, and we'll look at each of those areas in some different slides as we go through. So when we're thinking about history, we're talking about people and places, conflicts, outcomes, lessons learned, and worldview. So that's a lot of different ways to look at history, but that's just kind of, kind of capitalizing it and giving it some really broad brushstroke points that you might want to consider as you're looking at curriculum for that. When you're looking at geography, you're wanting to think about what do the kids need to know? They need to know names and places. They need to know landforms. They need to know about people groups. When you put history and geography together, you get a better understanding of the conflicts and the ideas and the lesson outcomes and even worldview and those kind of things that happen with those. When you look at languages, that's a really broad category. There's grammar, there's language arts, there's the literature that we interact with that makes countries famous and makes people famous. And then there's also multiple languages, second or third or otherwise, that all kind of fall into that languages category. So keep them in mind, those places of where your kids are and where do you want them to be as you're pulling these pieces together. Literature is the next one, and you want to make sure that your kids are reading, they're learning to discuss, and they're learning to analyze. All right, and so then the next section is science. And so with science, you want to be thinking about science and technology, engineering, and math, and that's all together in the STEM section there. So keep all those in mind. We're going to go through each one of them individually and look at them a little bit more up close at the different aspects and the different things you need to think about. And you can look at that with each child in mind as you go through each step. All right, so when we look at history and social studies, these are kind of the broad topics that you want to look at and see where your kid is at and what they have done and what maybe they need to do. So tick the boxes for what you are looking for this year and make notes as to what you have and what you might need to what you might need to look for. So there's world history, ancient history, medieval, and modern history. And then you also may be wanting to think about the history of a specific country or continent. If you know you're going somewhere, you might really want to focus on those countries or continents specifically. But in general as well, if you're looking at world history, so oftentimes rather than a broad survey, you may do a country a month subject kind of unit study or something like that, or a continent a semester, or things like that, where you can break it down into smaller chunks and use it. The other aspect there is the historical theme. So maybe you want to look at biblical history or historical heroes, or looking at a historical time period through the eyes of the people that lived there, like looking at medieval England through the eyes of Shakespeare is a good example of a way that you can see how history influenced people, but you can also see how people influenced history as well then, and it ties it together with a little bit of a different angle. So keep those in mind when you are wanting to study historical themes. All right, the next piece is geography. When you're looking at geography, you want to look at countries, continents, and you want to think about mapping and cartography and pulling those together. There's also, that would be the basics. There's also a bit about landforms and people and places and those kind of things that you want to keep in mind as well. So when you're looking at foreign language, you want to just identify where your student is at. Are they a beginner in the second language they're learning? Are they at intermediate or advanced? And progressing them into the stage that they are ready for, and making sure that they really have mastered the section that they're in. So when you're looking at those, just make notes of where each of your kids are, what languages they're studying, maybe even where they want to go next, so that you can kind of create a bit of a funnel or a path to follow. When you're looking at literature, there's all different kinds of literature, and there are tons of curriculum out there, and all of them are really good, and they all have their benefits and different angles on it. So really take a look at what kind of literature you want to be using in your homeschool and what you need, both in curriculum, that would be the resources to teach it and to learn about it, but also then the actual pieces of literature, the actual books and that kind of thing. So there's historical, there's biographies, there's the classics, poetry, and then you also have leisure and audiobooks and other kinds of literature resources that will make the learning fun and exciting. Maybe there's some games out there that are focused on historical literature or biographies and different things like that. There's all kinds of different things you can use. And as we progress through the series, we'll get into some of those other pieces. But right now, it's about the inventory. Do you have the curriculum and the supplies that you need to be able to implement it in your home? Science is a big subject, and it's pretty broad, and depending on where your child is, you're either going to touch on a lot of things in one year, or you're really going to narrow down into one specific thing. Like if they're in high school, you're going to take one big subject and really break it down into all its parts, like with physics or biology or chemistry and that kind of thing. In the younger years, you'll do more of the general science, and the physical science generally pops in the middle school years. But then there's also computer science and studying great scientists and inventors. So figure out what your mix is with that. Do you have all the sciences covered? Which ones do you need to make sure that you do pick the one you're going to do this year? And there are resources out there and available to help you see what is necessary for each kind of grade level, which is a typical standard, which can be good guides. But do what fits your family and what your family goals are for your education and your family learning and teaching styles. So keep that in mind. Again, this is really about finding the resources and making sure you only buy what you need, right? And can you use a resource that you used last year or a few years ago with another person in the family, or is it time to invest in something that is going to take you into that next phase of education and be used broadly then at a later date? So, okay, so let's move on to the fine arts. Fine arts, I broke them into two categories, visual arts and music. I know that there's also things like theater and performance and those kind of pieces. I didn't do that here, but that certainly goes into activities and hobbies and those kind of areas. But when we're talking about fine arts, when you're looking at the visual arts, oftentimes people will connect them with an era of history that they're studying, and they will choose specific artists or specific music or music styles or composers, and that's all great. Pick the pieces that fit best with what you're learning about, that's really going to bring a richness to the field of study that you're in, or the era of history, and even science and the other pieces there. So look at specific techniques for drawing or painting or other art techniques, specific artists, styles, and eras. And then with the music, just good listening to music and kind of breaking it apart and understanding the era and the style, the composer and the musicians that played it. And understanding their lives really brings a richness to understanding their music, and understanding instruments and how they work and the kind of tones and music that they make is also really interesting as well. So keep those things in mind when you're studying fine arts, and then always make sure that you have some type of hands-on aspect to it, because that's what makes art fun, especially fine arts. It's not just studying the artists, but it's about also getting your hands into the art, right? All right, so moving on to language arts. Basically, you know, reading, spelling, grammar, and writing, that's what language arts is all about. And there are ways to make it fun and exciting and to pull in things that the kids enjoy learning about, to learn the reading and the spelling, and even sometimes the grammar. There are some great resources out there that can even make grammar fun and the writing fun. So using fun writing prompts and some different things will help. And then also making sure as you head into the high school age and the upper elementary through high school, that they are learning to write paragraphs, essays, and then research papers and reports. Math is, there's basic algebra, geometry, calculus, logic is also in there quite often, especially for those that kind of go toward the classical model of education. So when you're looking at those, just make sure that you're getting the basics, and then your math is on the right trajectory for the academic outcomes that you want to have for your transcript or your CV, or what the college or university that you're pursuing, that your student wants to go to, that you have what you need to meet their entrance requirements. So keep all those in mind. And yeah, and then the last bit is finding the electives, the interests, the activities, the fun bits that kind of help keep things going on the days when things get hard. There's always some activity in the afternoon to look forward to. So keep all those in mind and really tailor make those to the child's interests and the family's interests, and those that are going to kind of undergird them on the hard days, give them a place to blow off steam, get some relaxation in, get some physical exercise, and those kind of things. Hang out with their friends. All right, and so that is just really quickly going through what the worksheets are about. So what I want you to do is to take the worksheets and do them for each child. And you can use them and make your notes on what you're looking for. You know, I would hope that it gets messy, that you're highlighting and you're circling, and you come away with a plan for what you need to keep your eye out on, so that you can be really efficient and know it when you see it, kind of thing. When you are working with your kids and you are going about taking the inventory, that resource is really going to be useful. So the next steps after that is what you want to look at, what you already have, that you have at home that you can use for that child. And then what do you need to get? What do you need to get it somehow, right? So then you want to think about your budget, and you want to look for sales and for discounts. And then also there are certain times where you just are going to make a decision of how you're going to invest in quality core resources. So those pieces that are going to be kind of like the spine of what you do for a subject, and you can use them multiple times if you have multiple children, and use them through the family. And so keep those pieces in mind. That's what's coming up next. And so in our next video, we'll have that for you. And the other way to get ready is the Build Your Bundle sale. It's coming. It starts on May 11th. And so you want to do your homework to get ready for the sale, so that when it starts, you can get in there and you can look at the bundles, you can participate in the giveaways. There's like 35 different chances to win, and there's over $5,000 of prizes being given away this year. All homeschool resources. So you really want to kind of be ready when they start the sale at 9 a.m. Central Time on Monday, May 11th. You want to be ready. There are going to be giveaways during the week before the sale. So keep an eye out for those. You can win a bundle. Actually, you can win all the bundles that they have. They're giving that away this year again. And then when we get into the sale, there will be multiple giveaways each day of the sale. So check back often for those. You can find information for those on the website as well as on Facebook. You'll see pins and things floating around Pinterest and things on Instagram as well, I'm sure. So keep those all in mind. If you have questions, email me. I will answer all that I can. And if it's about specific items in the sale, I can't answer those. Those will come out on Monday morning. So check your inbox for that. And in that, I will give you the shopping guide that's going to make all the work you've done so far super easy to know what to look for as we continue to break this down into manageable steps to help you plan your curriculum for your homeschool and have a great time doing it and save money and then have it done. So I will see you in the next video, as well as over at Homeschool Travel Learn on Facebook and at captivatingcompass.com.